So why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep repeating the same mistakes and just never learning from them? What's the difference between you and someone who actually learns from their mistakes? Why you? Why do you have to repeat it 100 times before you learn from a mistake? Why are you scrolling constantly on your phone and just never actually putting the phone down, detaching and doing the things you want? Why is that? So in this video, I'm going to explore the nature of learning, understanding, and wisdom, because I'm sure you know all the things that you need to do. I'm sure you've read all about it. I'm sure you've watched countless podcasts. You've probably watched like some videos on addiction or videos on whatever your vice is, essentially, whatever the mistake is that you keep making, the problem that you keep running into. I'm sure that you are a professional by now. Like, I'm sure you could teach someone else and you could explain to them how, if they were you, they would get out of your situation. But for some reason, you have all this knowledge, but you still keep repeating that mistake and you keep doing it. And so why is that? So I'm going to dive into that in this video. So imagine it's 4 a.m. and you've just been scrolling on your phone, playing a mobile game for the last 10 hours. And you've basically fed up, you're like sweating, you're in this kind of disgusting, shameful state. You haven't done anything all day. You're hungry as hell and you haven't eaten. You're almost in this kind of psychotic state where you've detached completely from reality and you're just glued to your phone in one way or another. And look, your story might not be as extreme as mine. My addictions and stuff were very, very like extreme. So replace like 4 a.m. with whatever time, replace mobile game with whatever vice that you have, and you can just fill in the blanks. But essentially, this was me. I was just constantly getting in these cycles of self-sabotage where I would just never do the things that I wanted to do, the things that would make me happy. And if you told me oh, you didn't know this, you didn't know that, I knew so much, and not to be arrogant or anything, but I had watched every single podcast and it's not even arrogance. Like, I'd watched every single thing out there to do with like, oh, how do I do things? How do I be disciplined? How do I do like blah, 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 basically. And like, if you brought me someone like a child suffering from like technological, like addiction or just addiction in general, I would like probably be able to give you like a roadmap from start to finish on how to help that person. But for some reason, when it came to myself and my own experiences, I was never learning from my mistakes, or I was learning, but it was nothing drastic. And why is that? Why was I not learning? What was the problem here? So the problem, and this is something I haven't heard many people talk about, but the problem essentially is that how does learning happen? Learning happens from aware, high quality experiences. What does that mean? So if you're kind of doing something over and over again, but you're not conscious of the experience, you're not actually absorbing it, you're distracting yourself, you're not paying attention to the experience itself, you will not be learning. This is why meditation is essentially the like superpower to learning. If you pay attention to the present moment of what is going on, you will gain high quality experience. And then high quality experience is what is transformed into wisdom and knowing and understanding. Like, you have knowledge on the one hand, and you can consume all the knowledge you want. But if you consume it in an unconscious way, that isn't kind of, you're not there actually, you're kind of distracting yourself, you're learning about the things, but never facing yourself, then you will not gain understanding. Information does not equal understanding. And in this case, for when it comes to like technology addiction or just whatever it is, like playing games or whatever vice that you have, the useful information, the high quality experience that you need to transform, that lies within the sensations you feel after you engage in that activity. So Basically, if you engage in an activity and you feel a lot of shame, guilt, frustration, and then you go and scroll on your phone, what you're doing is that gap of sensation that hasn't been consciously experienced by you is the thing that we call wisdom, or is the thing that we call understanding. If you sat there in that gap without distracting yourself, like let's say you've engaged in a vice, like let's say you, I don't know, you doom scrolled on YouTube shorts and you did that for like a good 2 hours. And then there's a period like of like maybe even 10 minutes after that section of like scrolling that if you sat in that guilt or that shame or that fear, you would have a conscious, high quality experience of the results of your actions. And then that experience would be turned into wisdom that is kind of ingrained into your psyche. So the only difference between people who actually learn from their mistakes and don't learn from their mistakes is how willing they are to consciously experience the consequences of the things that they've been doing, the mistakes they've been making, or like mistakes is a loaded term because in a sense, everything is progressing you forward. But the speed at which the thing progresses you forward is directly correlated to how willing you are to face those sensations and those feelings. So look, it's not easy to do, and that's why most people don't change very drastically and most people don't learn from their mistakes. But essentially, if you can be courageous enough to pay attention to your negative experiences, this will propel your growth in ways that you won't imagine. Like me 7 months ago, like I would have never been like capable of like having this kind of level of peace and groundedness that I have in this day-to-day time now. Like before, I was just like so there was so much self-sabotage, and I've noticed that my learning has just gotten so much better. Like I'm noticing things and experiences that I previously would have shied away from or that I would have distracted myself from. But yeah, that's pretty much the insight that I wanted to share. And the action step, or I guess the recommendation that I can have is pay attention to your experience after and just really internalize this idea. The more I pay attention, the more wisdom I will gain, and the more I will evolve as a person. The more I distract myself, the less I will change, the less I will learn from my mistakes, and ultimately the less happy I will be. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully this insight helped, and yeah, thank you for watching.